Hello and welcome. It's the third episode of Behind the GM's Eyes. Today here we are going to talk about way too early head coach carousel of the NFL, aka guys that I do predict that are not going to hold on to their jobs and their potential replacement. Is this only like GM's job to find these guys? No. Sometimes those jobs are linked together. So yes, I understand this might not be just strictly in the hands of GM, but at the same time, like if I would have to do nuance for everything, it would be like, yeah, there is like 20 new series. So I would rather, when it's like general management overall, owner type of decision, yeah, I'm gonna stick it in here. So with that being said, we will go division by division to say whether I think that there is going to be someone fired from the division or not. And yeah, let's just do it in the same order as I released my Road to Super Bowl videos. So we will start with NFC West: Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams. And I don't think there is going to be any firing here, but I do have an honorable mention here. And that one is Jonathan Gannon, because I think sometimes ownership could do some stupid things, and in this case it would be stupid in my eyes, because I really think what are they building in the desert is quite nice, but at the same time it's been 2 years from this rebuild. It's time to reap rewards, and last year they were in a real nice position to try to win the division. They kind of failed, and if after a lot of investments this offseason, especially investing into the defense that Jonathan Gannon is like responsible for, if they still cannot even make playoffs, I think there might be a rush decision to fire Jonathan Gannon. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to happen, because yeah, they might even be a sneaky playoff team. Don't sleep on the birds. But at the same time, like I really think he's doing a great job. But there is also like one interesting point towards this, and it is when you look at the NFL teams and those that are run by defensive head coaches, or like guys that are primarily there to oversee defense and are also head coaches. I mean, let's look at the best ones in the league, okay? So Mike Vrabel has been fired by the Titans 2 years ago. Mike Tomlin has not won a playoff game in the whole TJ Watt tenure. Bill Belichick, no longer at the league. After Tom Brady, not really too much success to speak about. Then I would not necessarily consider him as like an elite guy, but definitely the guy that is predominantly there for defense and is coaching probably the best team out of these guys that we just mentioned is Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills. No Super Bowl appearance in the entire Josh Allen career. So it really starts to feel like, and it's something that like a lot of guys, including me, have been talking about for some time. It's like you are kind of limited with defensive-minded head coach the way the league works, where a lot of it's about viewership, about the fans, and though they do appreciate more like offensive plays, also it can be height or like I would say height. Behind the player safety, like I'm not saying that NFL does not want their guys to stay healthy, but you can hide some pro offenses type of stuff into the rules, even just label it it's pro player safety. So I really think like it's kind of clear that leagues moves in this direction, and defensive-minded head coach, even the best ones in the league, have not had great successes for pretty much a decade right now. Like TJ Watt and Mike Tomlin, 0 playoff wins. Sean McDermott with Josh Allen, like it's not necessarily a decade with Josh, but 0 Super Bowl appearances. So like even if you feel like Jonathan Gannon is doing a great job and is potentially perhaps a tier 2 defensive-minded head coach, because I would definitely not put him on the like same level as like Mike Tomlin right now. It's like, what is the ultimate upside with Jonathan Gannon? Like, so there is an honorable mention. I don't think he deserves to be fired at all. I think he's really doing a tremendous job, but could I see the reasoning for it? I think so. But at the end of the day, that's not my prediction. Now, We will go with NFC East, and I do have, I do have guys to be fired there, and I actually have two. And we will start with Dallas and Brian Schottenheimer, who has just been hired for this team, and I don't know, like nobody was kind of like super excited when this hire happened. I don't see and look around and like anybody else like pounding the table that this is the hire that's going to push Dallas to, finally perhaps appear even in conference championship game. Nobody says that, and I'm on their side. Like, I think Brian Schottenheimer, as of right now, would be my bottom 3 ranked head coach in the league. I don't think the world of overall Dallas team as a whole. The stalling with Micah Parsons definitely does not do them any good. So it's like really tough job to take because it's the most watched America team. It's America's team. It's under Jerry Jones. There is Micah's dispute. Dak Prescott coming back after injury. And like, are they necessarily like great team beside it? I don't necessarily think so. So the expectations are high, but the actual talent, I don't necessarily think is there. So both from the actual roster, to be like a juggernaut or even like, I actually think they might end up with the worst record in this division. Ultimately, I think I have them above Giants, but like it could be close, very, very close. And, with that, Brian probably could be gone with year one. And, when I was thinking about who could be a guy replacing Brian Schottenheimer here, I'm like, here are my candidates for it. So it's Todd Monken, OC from the Ravens, Brian Flores, DC from the Vikings, Zachary Orr, DC from the Ravens, Jesse Minter, DC from the Chargers, Joe Brady, OC of the Buffalo Bills. Then those are kind of my top 5. With the biggest question to me is definitely Zachary Orr, who looked like he should be fired within the first half of the season last year, but just took the horn by the bull by the horn, sorry for that, and really turned the defense around. And when we know in terms of defensive coaches, teams are really looking at Mike McDonald disciples, Zachary Orr has learned from him in Baltimore. So that's a wild card there, but those would be probably my 5 potentially top candidates. Then there is Cliff Kingsbury and Drew Petzing, who I really like both of what they have done last year, and I'm excited to perhaps see them as head coaches. Though with Cliff, it comes with huge questions about what happened with Arizona. So it's not a coincidence that I mentioned him in the same breath as Drew Petzing, who is kind of there, cleaning up some of the Cliff's messes, but those were mainly from the drafting, not necessarily from running the offense. And then when I look at some other potential candidates, I saw guys like Matt Nagy, Vance Joseph. I'm like, I don't know if those are necessarily the guys that kind of even want to leave their job as OC with the Chiefs or DC with the Broncos. Given their age, both of them are failed head coaches, just like Cliff. But I don't know, with Cliff, it feels like his influence is just much more shown with the Commanders, from one of the worst teams, presumably, that they should have been before last year. They were in the conference championship. But with Matt Nagy, he's under Andy Reid, he's with Pat Mahomes, so how much he's influencing the things there. And with Vance Joseph, with there, it's more, does he want to leave the Broncos and actually nice situation that's developing there? Do people trust in him that much? I have questions. I would not be shocked, but it would be the similar type of hire that Falcons did with Raheem Morris, and so far it has not worked out. So I do have questions about that one. But with that, there is definitely a question: who would be the guy for this job? And it's interesting, how appealing is this job definitely will depend on what's going to happen with Micah Parsons. Yeah, if he's not there, it's it's kind of interesting situation. Ultimately, I ended up going for Drew Petzing here. With like, to me, he's less appealing from those. I really feel like in terms of offensive minds, Joe Brady and Todd Monken are my top tier head coach candidates for next season, because I love so much what they have done with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because when you have these guys and you put them onto the next level and the offenses around them, it's just so freaking impressive. Like I'm impressed by both of these guys. So, and this job I think has less appeal than the others that, they could be choosy in my eyes, and Drew Petzing, not necessarily. And I think this would actually be quite a nice situation for him, and like also someone that could be appealing towards the Cowboys in a way that like their best days were when they were able to run the ball. That's something that Drew Petzing absolutely gets a ton of credit for me from the Cardinals. They were special in that, and they tried to build somehow or rebuild this offensive line. Though like their non-investment in running back is insane. So I think they might be another year of when they just cannot run the ball and could be like, oh my god, we have to fix that. Look at Drew Petzing and let's go. So my prediction: Brian Schottenheimer is gone, Drew Petzing is in for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we unfortunately will stay with the division with the next firing, and it would be Brian Daboll. And here's the thing: I would not fire Brian Daboll. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be wrong process. Because if you were to fire Brian Daboll, you should have done it prior to this year, because now you let him choose potential quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. And also, when you look at this freaking schedule, what do you expect him to do? Like, that roster is not ready for this insane gauntlet for a team that had number 3 overall pick. Like Commanders, Chargers, Eagles, Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles again, 49ers, Bears, Packers, Lions, Patriots. By week 13 they should be damn good. Commanders again, Vikings, Raiders are no cakewalk. Like, to me, it's like Saints are the one game where you look at it, it's like, yeah, they should beat them. But everything else, like, this is hell of a schedule for a team that had number 3 overall pick. It's crazy. So if you were to fire Brian Daboll, you should have done that prior to this year, prior to choosing Jackson Dart, because I don't like, if we are going with young QB perhaps for 2026, to just give him a new guy, after spending a year with the old one in a way. And I also think Brian Daboll is hell of a coach. Yeah, like, the thing that, they stuck with Daniel Jones, that might cost him. But if there was a situation to do it, it should have been last year. But, when I really look at the schedule, and even though I probably am higher on the Giants than other teams, do I trust the ownership not to do it, not to pull the trigger this year? I actually don't. Like, I wouldn't do it. Certainly not like during or after this year, unless they really implode. But, even predicting them 7-10, it might be it for Brian Daboll. So I would not do it, but I actually think it's going to happen. And I don't think it's going to be a great thing to do. Now, one thing that I will mention with Brian Daboll before we get to who I think is going to replace him is there's an interesting situation. In this year's draft, we had top 3 picks by the Titans, Browns, and the Giants, and neither of those coaches got fired, which I'm not sure like how often that happens. And like, I have Brian Daboll kind of linked with Kevin Stefanski, who is an honorable mention to me. Who, to me, their career are actually quite similar in terms of both of these guys actually won Coaches of the Year. Daboll 2022 and Stefanski actually twice in 2020 and 2023. One side note: in last, between them it was Mike Vrabel. Out of these guys, Mike Vrabel got fired during the period of time, and those guys had number 2 and number 3 pick after 2024 season. So does that award necessarily really tells the truth? It's a little bit of a question, but that was just a side note. I have Kevin Stefanski mentioned as an honorable mention. And the thing is, if I were in charge of the decisions, Kevin Stefanski would be much more on the hot seat than is Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll is slightly better head coach than he is, and slightly better offensive mind. But my gut is kind of telling me that Giants are going to pull the trigger on this, and Browns will actually not. That Kevin Stefanski is going to survive. With both of these coaches, I would say, even though I am lower on Stefanski than I am on Daboll, I would say fire Stefanski after what I presume is not going to be a great season for the Browns would not be a great thing, again, from the process standpoint, because you can say that they did not really invest in the QB room with Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, but they kind of did. And it's like, are you bringing a new guy to draft another new guy next year? Perhaps that's how could it be done, which, again, like when we talk about this with road to Super Bowl to the Giants, like it might happen to the Giants as well. Like if they have top 3 pick, or if there is a chance to get Arch Manning, screw Jackson Dart. Like it's going to happen. So interesting situation. Like I feel like these guys are actually kind of linked, and like both offensive head coaches, both really good, not great, both winning head coach of the year, both kind of stuck with a bad QB contract, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, that kind of derails their last couple of years. And both given the chance where, not necessarily everyone expected that they would get it. And now it's like, who is going to pull the trigger, and will it be this year? And I unfortunately believe that Giants are going to do it and Browns won't. So we will see. Now, with the Giants, who do I expect to replace Brian Flores? I was like, well, do we stack with Jackson Dart? Perhaps do they look for, experienced quarterback? Do they believe? Depends. And I came up with the name of Brian Flores, which is an interesting combination with him and young quarterbacks with the situation with Tua and Miami. But I think Brian Flores is definitely somewhere else than he was prior to this year, prior to the situation with Tua. B, like learning and being in the same organization with Kevin O'Connell, I think, and also like where they are implementing JJ McCarthy towards the offense, like across 2 years, I think will give him much better understanding, perhaps how to deal with young quarterback, what they need, and how to approach him from like a head coaching perspective, because that's something that's been definitely praised, like the communication with O'Connell and McCarthy. And also when I look at this defense, I'm like, oh my God, imagine Brian Flores with this defensive line. So I think this job would actually be appealing, and I would not be so scared of the, even if they stack with Jackson Dart, like, whatever happened with Miami, I would not think that Brian Flores is still that person, or like, have not learned perhaps from some of the mistakes that he's done at that point of the time. And I would say that he would be a very, very nice hire for this team. And boy, oh boy, that defense in 2026 with Brian Flores, as much as I would really dislike losing Brian Daboll here, seeing Brian Flores with this, ooh, that would be nice. That would be nicer. Now, Commanders, Eagles, I think they are fine. Now, going to NFC South, Saints, Kellen Moore, first year, nobody expects anything. I don't think there's going to be a change there. Panthers, also great job by Dave Canales in year 1. Buccaneers, if they were about to ever replace Todd Bowles, another, great defensive-minded head coach, no conference championship for the Bucs since Todd Bowles took over, just to mention it. But I think there will be a change, and it will be Raheem Morris, who actually, in my hot take, is the first guy that might got fired, because they have a nasty start of the year. Bucs at home, Vikings on the road, Panthers on the road, and Commanders home, then bye week, and then the Bills. So, could the bye week be it for Raheem Morris? And like with Raheem, I would reiterate some of the points with Jonathan Gannon, like, even with the top guys in terms of defensive-minded head coaches, the ceiling is not necessarily there. And one of the reasons why Raheem Morris was brought here, at least in my eyes, was like, but there is a nice floor for these guys. And they believe that with Kirk Cousins, experienced quarterback. They have really enough of a manpower to really be great last year, and they haven't. They did not even make playoffs. And if they start poorly this year, I think the plug might just get pulled. And when I look at their team right now, developing Michael Penix, do I necessarily think Raheem Morris is going to be great at it? No. And in terms of defense, they've invested heavily into fixing this defensive line. And is 4 games enough of a sample size? No. But NFL, not for long. What have you done for me lately? All of these cliches are actually kind of cliches because they are to a degree a truth. And if they start 0-4, which I do believe is 15% of the time, I think he's gone. And even if they don't make playoffs, I think he's gone. Is it fair to Raheem Morris? Most likely not. Will it happen? I actually believe so. Now, for a replacement here, I went with Todd Monken because I think he fits it. You see what they were able to create with the Ravens, and here you have nicely mobile Michael Penix that should be able to grasp it. You should be able to get the best out of him as Todd Monken. You have Bijan, you have a really great offensive line. So if I look at this from the Falcons' perspective, and I'm like, this just makes sense, man. And I think that offense could be really electric with Todd Monken. So that would be my choice. And if I'm Todd Monken and Michael Penix does not look like a lost cause, and I look at all the offensive talent that they've drafted over the years, really good offensive line, it's an appealing job, especially with the division not being the greatest, though hopefully with at least Panthers being competent and Bucks being really good. It's not a shit show of a division, but yeah, you definitely still in terms of how likely are you to win the division, it's easier here than somewhere else or perhaps anywhere else. So that would be another head coach that I don't believe is going to survive the season. Now, with NFC North, yeah, I don't see any guys out there. Matt Johnson just got to the Bears. I would be shocked if he's not there for at least 4 years. Kevin O'Connell, hell no. Matt LaFleur, hell no. Dan Campbell, come on. It ain't happening. So, I would say the odds of all of these guys staying is 1.1. It's minus 900 for you using American odds. This would be probably the most secure division in terms of head coaching jobs ever. I cannot imagine any of these guys getting fired unless it would be some off the field bullshit. Now, towards an AFC East, Dolphins. Here is my another honorable mention. It is Mike McDaniel. Which, I'm not a huge fan of the Dolphins in terms of, I predict that they would see a fall. Last year, I think I was right in it. And I don't necessarily think it's not going to continue this year with all the situation with Tyreek, healthy pass rusher or unhealthy, questionable O-line, Tua's contract that is worth if Tua is healthy to a degree, but that's the problem. So I think a lot of things needs to go right for Miami to at least be a playoff team, which you kind of expected that. When he arrived, he was talk is the next best thing after McDonald's in a way, and it's the shine or anything it starts to decrease in terms of how bright it is, and you might see some of the shortcomings. Now it's going to be kind of a big year to see if he can switch around and actually deliver something, because as much as we've enjoyed 70 points and 70 burgers and a lot of nice things, it's playoff wins, that's what they are looking out there with in Miami, and he has not delivered that. So he's an honorable mention, and I don't think they are going to get rid of it. I'm not saying he's a bad coach at all, but really, really great offensive mind. But can he actually hold on the locker room? Those questions start to rise. I don't think they will escalate this year, but a guy that for a lot of people it would probably be a shock. For me, actually not at this point of the time. Now with Patriots, hell no. With Bills, Sean McDermott, I mean, if they don't make it all the way and they are stand to lose Joe Brady, it would be worth thinking about it and perhaps like, yeah, Joe, how about you are our head coach? But I just don't think it's going to happen. I feel like Bills are like similar to Steelers in this way, and you cannot like take away that Sean McDermott has like better success than Mike Tomlin in the last couple of years. So, it's like, do you fire a coach that could be like 14-3 and going to conference championship? Most likely not. Even though I think in terms of what he brings as a defensive-minded guy, I don't think it's excellent. I think it's really good. I don't think it's excellent. I also think he's really good culture builder. So it's really tough to let go of these guys. But at the same time, does he have the ultimate upside to be a Super Bowl winning head coach? And I don't know that, man. I really don't know. Like, really nothing against him. I really like him in the Hard Knocks. Like, I believe what he stands for. And like, I don't think he actually is playing anything on the camera. Like, he looks like a really nice guy. But, is that the upside? And like, would you like lose Joe Brady over it in terms of like, if there is potential like to promote him internally and try to find defensive coordinator somewhere else? Losing Sean McDermott would suck. I don't doubt that, but it might suck more in terms of longevity to lose Joe Brady. So it's honorable mention. I don't think he's going to get sacked. I don't wish it to him, but I would consider it if it means like, if it's still Joe Brady is going to stick with us. Okay, that's like, then it would really shock me if Sean McDermott was fired. Now, with AFC North, we already talked about Kevin Stefanski. He's not going to be the guy on the chopping block for me, but there will be a guy from this division. And it's Zach Taylor. And to me, this has a lot of done with what is he actually bringing to the table as an offensive-minded head coach. Like, we see his disciple in Titans struggling heavily towards the number one pick. In Coach Callahan, do I necessarily see some offensive prowess? No, I see great freaking Joe Burrow and great freaking Jamar Chase. That's it. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad head coach or a bad guy or anything, or even like bad offensive coordinator. I think he is good. Kind of middle of the pack offensive coordinator. Below average head coach. Is that something that you want to stick with if you have Joe Burrow? And especially like if they don't make a playoffs another year, I think it's absolutely poised to change. In terms of like how he prepares his team, like the famous stat, like they have not won first two games in like 4 years. That's inexcusable. It's freaking inexcusable. And if it's going to happen this year against the Browns and freaking Jaguars, like not like Jaguars are feisty team, but if it happens this year, like like it might be worth considering after 2 weeks. Like it's just unacceptable. So I don't think he necessarily brings too much to the table from offensive head coach. The team is not ready when it needs to be. They missed the playoff with Joe Burrow fully healthy last year. It's it. Like, they absolutely need to make the playoffs, or he, in my eyes, has to be gone. And I think even if you go one and done, I would absolutely look about replacing Zach Taylor. And I think it's going to happen. I actually have them narrowly missing the playoffs or being a 6 or 7 seed and losing in a game on. And to me, this is a job that would be taken by Joe Brady. I mean, from Josh Allen to Joe Burrow, like, yeah, it doesn't get too much better than that because, like, Andy Reid, perhaps one day he's going to, retire. Harbaugh in Baltimore, perhaps one day. But, like, honestly, if you want to go, either you have to be internally promoted, which kind of never happens, or this is the team, this is the path, and I think this would be absolutely an appealing job. Even though like the organization is not the best, I mean Joe freaking Burrow, like, and I would really, really like to see what that connection could be. Like, could we unlock even another level with Joe Burrow, just as he did with Josh Allen in my eyes? Like, perhaps not necessarily with Josh Allen, but with the whole offense, that he was able to hide some of the not excellencies of Josh Allen and just absolutely focus on his strengths. My God, that would be something I wanted to see. So that's my prediction for the Bengals, that they will let go Zach Taylor and will be appealing enough to bring on Joe Brady. Now, Steelers-Ravens, not really. Now, with the AFC South, yeah. Another one that I would be unhappy about, because I think Sean Steichen is really nice coach, but the results are not there. And like similarly to what we thought with Brian Dable, what we thought with Kevin Stefanski, well, I actually think Shane Steichen would be probably number 2 or even perhaps number 1. So because I really like him, but when you cannot hit on QB, when you cannot develop the guys that you have, and you have a good roster, that's just when NFL does. And when I look at what the Colts are experiencing right now, it's going to be hard to, make playoffs for them. I truly think it's going to be hard. And even if they did, they would most likely be one and done. And with passing of Jim Irsay, new ownership, or like new management structures, unless it's really good, I think Colts are going to do it and let Shane Steichen go. I don't think it's necessarily the smartest decision, but I think that's what would happen for the Colts. Now, in terms of replacement, I thought here about Cliff Kingsbury quite a lot, and he definitely could be a guy potentially taking this job. But at the end of the day, I feel like Zachary Orr might be the guy for it, when it's like they are trying to kind of get over the edge in terms of defense, in terms of pressure. They've invested in this defense under Lou Anarumo quite heavily, and that would be quite an appealing personnel. And if you are a first-time head coach with defensive background, they might continue with this, let's say, old habit of QB. Like, let's go with Daniel Jones, let's go with Kirk Cousins, let's just have a guy there, let's run the piss out of the football, have a really great offensive line, and try to be special defense, which, would be kind of the team way to success with Zachary Orr. Like, is it the most sexiest way, most sexiest appeal, or the best connection? Not necessarily. But in terms of OCs that I actually see like with a really nice chance of promotions, that would excite me for this team. I feel like they will have better chances, or like better looking jobs elsewhere. So, Zachary Orr, I think might be it for the Colts. Is this the better than Shane Steichen? I don't think so, but it's new. So, that's just gut feeling, predictions. Would I do it? No. But the NFL is not necessarily run by me. I don't have a script. Unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. And yeah, we are not over. I don't think Coach Callahan is going to survive this year. I feel like last year was just not good, from both like team rallying behind and like being able to not make mental mistakes or react to them well. And as much as I would hate to change offensive coordinators or head coaches for Cam Ward, I think it's going to happen. And yeah, like I said, I just did not see too much for me to really think like Coach Callahan is the answer. And unless we see Cam Ward playing well, this offense kind of being on track to be something interesting in 2026, it's like, I'm not certain it's going to happen. I think it's going to just be 2 and out for Coach Callahan. And like, this would be one that I'm like, you kind of get your chances. Like Will Levis, there was some potential there, nothing to unlock. Now you get number 1 pick. If you cannot make him play really nice, why should we stick with you? It's not like this. Like if this was his first year and they would go 5-12 and Cam Ward like look like, I don't know, 80% of Caleb last year. Bryce Young, not necessarily Bryce Young for first year, but like, you know, what is a mix of Bryce Young performances right now? Yes, you know, he would get another year, but if it's just not, and if you don't really feel excited, why would you give him a second chance? I not necessarily think that we will leave this year with excitement, because I just frankly did not see much. So now Coach Callahan is my final pick for a guy that's going to get replaced. And my head coaching candidate here is Cliff Kingsbury. I think him and Cam Ward, that, like, looking on paper, this could work quite nicely. And I think it might be time for Cliff to take the job. No, prior to last season, I would not think so. But what they were able to accomplish with Jaden Daniels was special. And, you know, I think Jaden is going to look awesome in year 2, and that will just put Cliff Kingsbury towards top of the market in terms of potential head coaches. I have no doubt about that. Necessarily the smartest thing. Is he ready? We will see, but I think he's going to be there. Now, one guy, you know, with that being said, I don't have anyone for AFC West. I mean, it's division with Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, and Andy Reid. Like, come on, who's going to get fired there? It's not going to happen, okay? So with that being said, that would be my 6 head coaches that would get let go and who I think would be their replacements. I have not assigned one guy that I would have kind of on the top of my list in terms of potential head coaches hired. That was Jesse Minter. And the thing for it was, I feel like he would be higher on rankings that, for example, Zachary Orr. But with that being said, I do feel like him staying with the Chargers would be more appealing for him, unless the right job would appear for him. You know, for example, Giants, but I feel like Brian Flores would be able to swoop that job. So I think he might be potentially better hired than Zachary Orr, but at the same time, with that, he could be more picky. And with those openings, I was like, yeah, just someone else fits it better, or perhaps he would look for a better opportunity in 2027. It's not like he doesn't have a lot to learn. He's not like in NFL for just his second season, so perhaps that could be it. You know, I think Jesse Minter might be a guy to look for 2027. So that was not quarterback, head coach carousel, the potential of those guys getting replaced. Let me know in the comments what do you think, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, who else perhaps should have been mentioned, what do you think about my picks and replacements, which fits do you like the most, where I'm totally wrong. I'm looking for the comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.